Oh my goodness, I just got off the call with Jenna Capozzi. She has been a producer for movies, TV shows, and she has done it all. So take a listen to everything that she has to offer, what she's done in the past, how she's gotten to where she's at today. And again, just remember, don't think, just do. Hello, fellow mompreneurs. Welcome to the Real Moms Podcast, the go-to space for resilient entrepreneurs who are striving for abundant living. I'm your host, Shay Spitz, a mompreneur and a realtor here in Columbus, Nebraska. Are you a mom juggling the hustle of entrepreneurship, family life, and personal growth? Well, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we dive deep into the real, unfiltered stories of incredible women who are navigating the journey of mompreneurship. We'll celebrate the victories, share practical insights, and acknowledge that it's okay to face challenges along the way. Success isn't about the destination. It's about the journey and the growth we experience as we balance our careers and the chaos of family life. Whether you're a seasoned mompreneur or just starting on this exciting path, join me and our amazing guests as we explore what it truly means to be a resilient entrepreneur striving for abundant living. Get ready for real, raw, and remarkable conversations that will inspire and uplift you. Because here at the Real Moms Podcast, we believe in the power of community, authenticity, and the strength that comes from embracing the journey together. So grab your coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's dive into the world of mompreneurship. This is the Real Moms Podcast, where we celebrate the hustle, honor the struggle, and thrive as resilient entrepreneurs living abundantly. Welcome to another episode of Real Moms Podcast. I like to start every podcast off with a motivational quote, and today's quote is, "A culture is only as great as its dreams, and its dreams are dreamed by artists," and that is by L. Ron Hubbard. So today we have Jenna Capozzi. She is the founder of Elevate Power. She leverages over 30 years of executive experience leading projects for global brands like Samsung, Target, and BMW while producing acclaimed films and TV shows. Transitioning from Hollywood to mentorship, she empowers emerging leaders to create meaningful impacts through community, personal growth, and purpose-driven leadership. Jenna's mission is to guide individuals toward confident, impactful leadership, combining her achievements in entertainment and advertising with her passion for helping others to succeed. So Jenna, thank you so much for being here. You sound like you have done so much with your life. And so thank you again for taking time out of your busy day to be here with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I know it does sound like a lot, yet it always seems like it's never enough.
Right. I love that. I love that because looking back, you're like, wow, I have accomplished a lot, but you're at the same time, you're like, I feel like I could do so much more.
I know it's such a weird thing, but
Yeah.
in some ways I use it as a driving force to want to just keep creating something new and keep creating something new. It's not like a manic sort of drive. It's just sort of like, what's the next thing? How can I, impress upon more people or how can I help more people? But yes, it never quite feels enough, does it? It's interesting.
No, it doesn't. And I even get people like, Shay, you look like you're just killing it. I'm like, but
Yeah.
am I? Like, I was like, well, maybe, but I feel like I could be doing so much more. So it is interesting. I love that
Yeah.
you said that though. So tell me,
Yeah.
how did you get started well, tell us about Hollywood and how did you get
Yeah.
started in that?
Yeah. So when I was 2 years old, my father was actually killed. And my mom was, here she is, no college degree, two little girls, and sort of what now? You know? And her sister was married to a very famous, esoteric, crazy jazz artist. And my mom said, I don't know what to do. And my aunt said, bring the girls and come with us on the road. So at a very young age, I was in this world of artistry. My uncle in the jazz world is very well known, but we traveled the world. I was living in five-star hotels. I was in nightclubs to 3 a.m. in my childhood. I mean, saw all sorts of things, but I was with like Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie, like Sarah Vaughan, like all these great artists. And I remember being about 6 or 7 years old, and my uncle would sometimes bring me on stage on Friday nights for the finale. I was a really cute little girl with, tight curly hair, and I sort of looked like Shirley Temple. And I remember he brought me up on stage this one time. And I remember looking out into the audience and I would see the most happy, elated, joyful group of people. And I was like, wow, he created that. I want to do that to people. I want to do that for people. And so it just naturally made sense to be like, I'm going to go in the arts. And I started down that path and that journey. In fact, my family was a little off the rails. I grew up in a legit tree house. And in my family, it was like, If you dare, like, if you thought about being a lawyer or a doctor, you're kicked out of the family. Like, you have to be an artist because an artist is the one who sees outside of the box. That was sort of that was the environment I grew up in. So it really started there, and everything was on that trajectory to go into film and TV. But what I saw was that I had a bit of a natural leadership myself, and I liked the idea of being a director or a producer because as you see, they were the ones who kind of made it all happen, if that made sense. So that's how it started.
Wow. Wow. And the producers kind of just bring it all together as well. You know, you were saying that you do from marketing to putting the people in the right places. And so how long were you doing that?
So the first film I worked on, I was 19 years old, and it was White Man Can't Jump. And I just fell in love with movie making. It was just, here I am seeing these amazing stars, Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes, like with Ron Shelton, the director, who, just incredible. And I learned from the best. And um, the next movie I went on to was with like Woody Allen, and I started just observing every role on a movie set. And one thing about the movie industry, for as much as people want to criticize it, they have the best organizational chart I've ever seen any business have. And it works out perfectly with every division on the organizational chart just has a manager and has an assistant, just makes sense from wardrobe to makeup to special effects to everything is really well organized, but it all points up to the producers. And the producer essentially, think of it as the entrepreneur of a product. It is the responsibility point from beginning to end. So while an actor might come in the middle to perform an act and they have a big responsibility, it's the producer from, I got to get the money for the project. I got to hire the project. I got to keep the project going. I got to finish the project. Now I got to get an audience to come see this project. Because if that doesn't make money, it's a flop.
Right.
So it
Right.
doesn't just end with filming it. It's like most of your money should be saved for the back end of actually marketing it and getting an audience to come to your film. Especially now, it's super challenging because there's so many ways to see a project. It's not just, coming this summer to a theater near you anymore.
Yeah, there's so much more competition out there that you're competing against, and I'm sure social media is a big aspect of it, but you're not now only competing against all the other movies coming out, but you're also competing against everybody else on social media that are bringing products and homes and properties to the market. You know what I mean? Like it's
You
it's
got
just
it.
a whole nother ball game, I'm sure, than what it was even a couple years ago. So I think being on the set of a film would be the most amazing, surreal experience that anybody could experience. I've never been on one,
Oh,
but I can
it's
only
really
imagine.
boring.
Is
It's actually
it?
really it's terribly boring. There's it is because there's so much downtime and wait time.
Right.
Because when you first arrive, you got to wait for the set dressing people to get the set dressed. Then you got to wait for the lighting people to get the lighting just right. Then you got to wait for the camera people to get just right. Then the director's got to like kind of rehearse it. Then the actors come out. Then they need a few takes. And then you need to do it all over again for the next scene. And it's a lot of downtime.
Really?
So it's not quite as exciting. That's why as a producer, it's great. You kind of just show up. When are they starting to film? Great. You see it. Oh, everyone's doing a good job. Good. I'm gonna leave. I'll be back. you
Yeah.
know, and just let everyone do their job. But yeah,
Right.
but it is exciting when you first get to one because what is exciting about it is seeing about 150 people collaborate on one single project and move seamlessly. And that is what's really cool. And that's the skill of a producer, hiring the right team and making sure that it's a great environment for them to do well in.
Right. Wow. That's yeah, that's just I mean it's hard to kind of wrap your head around, but I would imagine that yeah, you have to have everything down to a T and have a lot of trust in other people that they
Yeah,
are doing what they're supposed to do and doing it hopefully correctly.
that's right.
I mean, I can see it as like a construction. Yeah, it's so much more. I would imagine that they have to have everything organized because I live on the other side of the world where you have homes being built, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I hate dealing with contractors because it's like I feel like it's the most unorganized process in the entire world. But then yet you can have 150 people putting together a movie and it goes fairly seamlessly. You're gonna have issues, but whereas over here you're just trying to build one house. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
Well, and
oh
like I said, the movie industry has one of the best organizational charts I've ever seen, like for running a business, and that really comes out of the studio industry and having very limited funds, and it's a quick start, change, stop. Where I think a house project can get pushed, or you have this factor, or there's many people doing it. Where the movie industry, not many people get that opportunity. In all honesty, so it's pretty competitive.
so how many movies have you been a producer for?
Um, Producer, probably about 5.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I was in television for most of my career. I did about 10 years in TV. So I worked on a TV show called Nash Bridges in the 90s with Don Johnson and Cheech Marin for 6 years. And then I was on a show called The District. So this is all like in the 90s, early 2000s. I'm like
Yeah.
aging myself now. And then but I was actually I was at Pixar Animation Studios and I worked on 3 Oscar-winning films, but I wasn't the producer of them. I was the manager over specific departments on them. And that was a great experience, but quite boring for someone who's used to live action because it's just so well organized and everything's done on the computer that you're kind of sitting there waiting for the animators. But yeah, it was a good experience. Yeah.
That's so surreal. That's so neat to be able to, because like I've never lived that life at
Yeah.
all. Like I'm in Nebraska. I've always been in Nebraska. As I just said, it's negative 19-degree wind chill out here. So but so
Yes.
tell me a little bit about, I mean, I imagine that throughout all of your experiences, obviously, yes, it sounds amazing. Sounds like you've done a lot and it's all glory. But I would imagine you've had some setbacks, that you've had some struggles. Is there anything that kind of stands out to you a little bit more that maybe came up that you were able to overcome at all?
I think that, well, let's just take Hollywood for a second. Hollywood is a very male-dominated industry. And as a female, there's 2 challenges. One is if you're too tough, you are criticized for being a bitch. And if you are not, then you're criticized for being easy or, being,
Like a
whatever,
pushover.
sexually, yeah, just like whatever. But what was really challenging was the women to the women. So when I came into the industry, I was very lucky. The executive producers of Nash Bridges who I worked with were phenomenal and like my mentors to this day. Like one of them walked me down the aisle at my wedding. Like I just got super lucky. They're family men, they're ethical, they're not, they're just really good people in the industry. I was very lucky. But the women would try and take me out. And it was a handful of us. And that is what was challenging. So I didn't trust women for the majority of my career. Now, funny enough, I was raised by a female, right? My father died when I was 2, and I've always had women as like sort of that strong, mom had to be both things. And it was very shocking to me. And I played soccer. I played on the US national soccer team in 1988. I like women were my team. So it was shocking to me to get into Hollywood and be like, whoa, okay, wow. And it was a weird jealousy thing. And I really had to stand up for myself. So that was shocking to me as like, wow, we don't even have each other's backs. Now it's changed a bit as time moved on. More women got into the industry. But at the time, there was only a handful of female directors, like 3 I can name. It was like Penny Marshall, Barbara Streisand, and Jane Champion. There wasn't really a lot of other ones. And even now you kind of have a hard time naming them on your hand compared to like a lot of the other ones, right? But women would be more in producer roles or in the administrative roles and less in the creative roles, even though women were totally creative. So I think that was the biggest shock and challenge that I had to overcome. And I went down the route of being kind of a tough woman, but fair. But I was just like, and the other thing is we had to work 125%. We weren't with the guys, and we couldn't go on it was an interesting time. This is the 90s, early 2000s. I've seen all sorts of things, but, I just kept steady and ethical as I could getting myself through the industry. And that was really key.
Yeah. I remember, I mean, I would say that real estate's very similar, probably any business, but you do come across, there's certain women that one of my favorite quotes is, I have a lot of favorite quotes, but one of my
Yeah.
favorite quotes is, your problem with me is not my problem. Like if I've never done anything intentionally and maliciously, like I can't let somebody else's problem of me
Right.
become my problem. And
Right.
even in the real estate world, like you get other women, especially who are jealous or envious, and they become catty or they don't like you or they do all these things. And it's just almost kind of comical that you just got to be like, well, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I'm not, because I haven't done anything. And you just have to let it go and you got
Well, I
to keep
think
going.
yeah, and that's the hardest thing to learn is that you're not actually responsible for their emotional reaction.
Right.
I mean, you can be if you're creating that, but
Yes.
if you're not, you're not. And I think for women, naturally, because we have a tendency to mother more or want to care more or have that emotional connection, it's easy to kind of take it on. And
Yes.
it is that distinction. I think even Mel Robbins in her book right now, right? Let them. She's kind of like, let people just kind of have their moment and not to take it to heart because it's so easy to take it to heart. And what did I do? And how could I do that? That's going down crazy train path right there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's been really fascinating with doing these retreats with women and getting a group of women together. And one of the things I say is a group of women together can be the most powerful, amazing, supportive thing, or it could tear you down faster than anything else. And I do curate who comes on the retreats because they are
Okay.
very intimate. And I do an app, an application. And there's always kind of one that's maybe borderline because I kind of go, that person has so much potential that they need to have the experience of what it's like to be in a really great pack of women. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so we had one recently last week who did see that. And you could see that there was a little bit of a trust thing. And then she just started opening up and you could just see like her face almost changed. You know what I mean? Because she could
Oh,
get
yeah.
that confidence. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. It was quite powerful.
Yeah, because I mean, as women, we are pretty reserved. You know, you want to protect yourselves personally, emotionally, all of that. So you do feel pretty reserved because you probably have been hurt by other women, especially. But yeah, I mean, in any business, a lot, and I tell other agents that I work with, like, you can't take things personal. Like, you have to, like, everybody makes a decision based off of what they feel is best for them in that moment and that time.
Yeah.
And some things might be personal, but you can't let it get to you. You can't go down that rabbit hole, and 85% of the things that we imagine or think about never actually happen. And only like a percent of the things that actually do happen would actually happen the way you're envisioning it. So there is
Yeah.
like a 99.9% chance that what you're envisioning in your head will never, ever, ever come to fruition. So we do
Yeah.
it to ourselves.
Yeah, and it's a real good gut check. If you are, this is my temperature. If I go to a girlfriend and I'm like, wah, 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 wah," all that is a justification for something I didn't take responsibility for. Like
Mhm.
that is my, so if I'm starting to talk to someone, I go, oh, hold on. I literally will start laughing. And I don't know if this is something that's just happening more in my 50s because I really don't care that much anymore. But I'll take a look and I was like, wow, you know what? Actually, if I had done this a little differently or I said this, and then it literally, I don't need to complain anymore. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, then I'm the reason for it.
Yeah. You
If
take
I'm the reason for it,
responsibility for it.
then I can own it. Who cares? I make mistakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, probably shouldn't have said it that way. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Like, oh, okay, looking back, yeah, that was my
Yeah,
bad.
the moment.
Um,
Okay.
but I
First time.
remember posting something this is probably a year or so ago, and I had posted something about, letting people know like everything that happens in your life is from a result of something that you did or did not do. Like it is your fault. And I don't want to say like in a bad way or good way, but
Yeah.
it does come back on you. And I had a lot of backlash, especially a cousin of mine. And he's like, well, so and so got cancer. How is that my fault? I'm like, okay, well, you're not looking at it that way. But I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna get into this. I'm not gonna argue about it. But
Yeah.
you have to keep in mind that, somebody else put a house under contract and the lender called me and she's like, Shay, I'm really sorry. I know you sent this person over to me. And then this contract came in with another agent. And I'm like, well, you know what? That's my fault. That was my fault that I didn't follow up. That was my fault that I didn't touch base again. Like, that's not their fault. That's not the other agent's fault. That's not the buyer's
Yeah.
fault. I didn't
Yeah.
do my job. And it was,
Yeah.
I had one conversation with this particular individual. So it wasn't like I was showing them homes for a long time,
Sure. Sure.
So, but yeah, I mean, it was my fault. I'm not going to sit
Yeah.
here and badmouth that individual or that lender or that agent. No, that was on
Yeah.
me. Totally my
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. It's freeing when you can do that, or
yeah.
to even answer your cousin's viewpoint on like, is the cancer, how's that my fault? It's like, well, it's interesting enough because even from a really like looking at the world, it's like, well, we know that there's certain things that aren't good for us yet. Are we standing up and really speaking about it? And we really doing something? There could be some piece of it, you know what I
Yes.
mean? That like there's something. So it is, anyways, it's not to beat yourself up. It's more like, oh, wow, I don't have to be the effect of something. I actually can take a look at like, is there something more I could do about it? And that was really why I sort of transitioned into this whole reinvention of my business.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's kind of where it started was just sort of this. I remember I was just sitting at a red light looking at the street and I saw like a homeless person and I see a cannabis dispensary, which I'm from California, and those literally ruined the state of California. And I'm just like, looking and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing creating another commercial for Samsung? Like, that's great for Samsung. Okay. how am I contributing? How do I want the next 50 years of my life to go? Just creating commercials to sell like things? Do I want to do something that's going to create a bit of a change? And that was literally like where, just that responsibility point just shifted. And I was like, huh, let me look at this differently. And that was how I started my reinvention, which is a big thing right now, Shay. I don't know if you might be too young for reinventions or maybe not, but it's like,
No,
this is a
yeah.
big thing. I had no idea.
I feel like it's a big movement over the last like 3 to 5 years. I mean, it's just reinventing who you are, how you perceive yourself. I mean, it's a big thing in the industry for whatever or how or why it all got started, but it is. So you started this reinvention of who you are and what you're doing, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it'll be yeah, it was April. Yeah, I was about to turn 51 and I was just sort of bored. I was just bored and not feeling like I was doing any change or impact. Like from a young age, I've always done something, right? When I was 17, I did a junior Peace Corps down in Mexico. Like, I was the captain of the soccer team. I would lead this. I just naturally was such a leader and loved to help. And I just found myself very comfortable and very middle class and very sad. Now,
Yeah.
granted, I'm going through menopause, but still, it was sort of like, wait a second, the kids are old enough. Like, how can I impact the most amount of change? And truthfully, it's like, yeah, it could be the Jenna Capozzi show. Like, yes, I'm on podcasts. Yes, I speak on stages. I travel around the world. I do that. I help people. But I thought, how am I going to do this faster?
Yeah.
And then I thought the most impactful people in my life has been women. And I love my husband and I love men for sure. But what I've found with my really close women friends or the ones I talk to, that there's just a little bit of that extra step, that extra care. And I thought, okay, if I can support women who are willing to go out there and communicate and have saner messages in whatever their field of interest is, whether it's real estate or it's a teacher or it's, an e-commerce or whatever it is, and I can help them communicate better and broader and build an audience, then it's kind of like these islands of sanity can kind of trickle together. And now we can maybe make a bigger impact and change some of these horrible messages that we get across social media. And I do see better messages on social media. Maybe it's just my feed, but I am seeing it. And I just feel like there's really a lot of really good people out there, actually.
Oh, there are.
Really good
There
people.
are. It's funny because like I think it's my algorithm too, but I also think that there's more good in this world than anybody portrays. Because
Yes.
back when all that rioting was happening, this is just an example that I bring up
Yeah.
because I've always just followed like positive. Like if you're going to be putting out crap, I'm not following you. I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to sit on the social media, your page.
Not interested.
But back when all that rioting was happening 2020, I don't even remember when it was, but I remember we had a family, we were sitting around the campfire and they started talking about the rioting. And I was like, well, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, well, the rioting that's happening in Minnesota. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it had been like a week. I'm not
Oh,
joking.
me
It was a
too.
week. And they're like, what do you mean? You haven't seen anything? I'm like, no, I have no idea. And then they
Yeah.
were showing me videos. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, but it hadn't been on my social media at all because I don't follow that stuff. I don't follow, like, I
Right.
need to know, I need to be aware of what's going on in the world and all of that. But I'm not going to stay too long on it because then it just consumes me and takes me down this dark path. And I really do think that there's so much good in this world than what social media and news puts out there, and it's quite sad. It really
Yeah.
is.
Well,
And there,
I mean, the whole purpose is what? To create a dangerous environment. So when
yeah.
you create a dangerous environment, then it makes people uneasy and then you can kind of guide them and do this. Like
And you can
I've been really
manipulate
good.
their life.
Totally. Like I've been really good friends with, and you probably know because you're in real estate, like Grant and Elena Cardone. I've known him for 23 years, right? And I told Elena on what I wanted to do, and she was like, "Go, do it, do it." Like we need more people standing up and communicating. I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I thought, absolutely." And she's like, "Yes, let's just, many people out there, and because there's a lot of people that need help and need to feel they're going to resonate with somebody. Like there's people going to resonate with you, Shay. There's people going to resonate with me. Like whatever it is, just to kind of, it's okay to communicate, type of thing, you know."
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. You kind of going back to you were saying that you love men, and I love men too. But I watch people, and when I start surrounding myself with women versus men I feel like are doing things for themselves. And I mean, sorry, men, if you're listening, I apologize. But this is just kind of how I'm perceiving it. I feel like the men are doing things like to grow their business, and they're very
Focused
in
on the
their
work.
lane. Yeah, they're like very simple minded. They're very in their lane. Whereas women, especially like the more powerful leadership kind of women, are looking at like the bigger picture. Like, how can I impact more people? How can I show the value of the women around me that they have a lot to offer? That you can't
Absolutely.
keep this mindset of going to work, get up, get the kids ready, go to work, and go back home. Like that sounds boring.
Yeah.
That sounds boring. I
Terrible.
think that's why people go through midlife crisis is because they finally get to a point in their life, not just women, but men too, but they
Yeah.
get to a point in their life and that they wake up one day and they're like, why? How am
Yeah.
I here? Like, how have I? But it's because they haven't made changes. They haven't thought bigger. They have the scarcity mindset and the limiting beliefs that this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And you
Yeah.
just get into that routine because it's easy, it's comfortable.
Well, and that is sort of the whole, from Rockefeller agenda into like college too long, not to get too weird on it, but it's like just the middle class viewpoint. The whole purpose is a working class. And so I think innately though, you're kind of like, there's something about this hamster wheel that I just don't love. And whenever it's interesting because when I work with women,
Mhm.
one for one, when we get down to really what that purpose is, it's always like, well, I just want to help. Like everyone has something connected to help. I just want to help. I just want to help. I want to help. And I'm just like, okay, there's something to this. Or when people ask the question, why am I even here? What am I even supposed to do? And when you start throwing help at them, they're like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because when do we feel really great? Sure, I've made a lot of money over the time, and that's cool, but it's nothing like when I'm on a stage communicating and I see the audience go, oh, what? Aha, they have that aha moment. I love that aha moment because now you're helping. You're getting them to see something different. You know that they're going to expand. They're going to help other people. Anyways, that's my whole, that's the thing that gets me excited, you
Right.
know?
That's what drives you. That's what wakes you up in the morning. And you're like, all right, like I need to do more of that for more
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
specifically. And just because I think
Yeah.
we get so consumed with the lives of our children that we lose that sense of identity because we're so focused on the kids. Well, you put yourself aside because you got to work with the kids and you got to take them everywhere, make sure that they're eating, all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a challenge. It really is a challenge as a mother, and entrepreneur and all of that.
But I will always hire a mom over
Yes.
anybody else. If you want someone to get something done, you hire a mom.
Right. And the busier we are, the more we get done
The
because
more you
it's like,
get
well, I
done.
don't have time. I don't have time to sit around and think about it. No, you need this done. I'm going to go do it right now because I don't want to forget about it because my kids took 50% of my brain cells every single time. So I better do it now and I'm going to do it right so I don't have to worry about it later on.
That's right. My whole motto is don't think, do. I actually like hammer this into my group of women. And I have this fun little video I show from, the Maverick movie, Tom Cruise movie, where he keeps telling him, don't think, do. But there's truth in it because when we think ourselves right out of these beautiful, amazing ideas. But that idea came in perfectly. And then we come up with all the reasons why we can't. So I'm just like, don't think, just do. You can always change your mind again, but just get into action. And that is what I think when you're very busy, it's why they say give it to a busy person. There's no opportunity to Q&A and hem and haw. It's like, I just got to get it done now. I have this 1 30-minute window. That's when it's going to get done.
Yeah, yeah. I've
Interesting.
actually gone to a lot of Grant and Elena Cardone's
Yeah.
events, and I've paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
Probably regret a lot of it, and it's not because their stuff wasn't good.
Yeah.
It's just I wasn't utilizing it to the
Yeah.
fullest potential.
Sure.
So that's again, that's on me. That's not on
That's
them.
on you.
That's on me.
Right.
And I do remember sitting in one of Elena's women's class, and she was
Yeah.
talking about this is kind of going down a different path, but I always thought it was a good way to perceive and look at things. But she said that when she was trying to find a man, she realized instead of
Oh, right. Yeah.
her, she said that when she was trying to find somebody who was good for her, she's like, she wrote down a list and said, okay, this
Yeah.
is the desire that I want. And then she said, but then she looked at who she is and what she's doing. And she was, going out to the bars or doing this and doing that. And she's like, no, I needed to figure out, okay, if this is who I want, who do I need to become to be the woman that he wants? And
That's
I
right.
thought that was a good perspective that
Yeah.
you can paint the perfect picture of the person that you want to be with, but until you can become the person that you feel that that they're looking for, you're never going
Yeah.
to find it. And it's kind of like in our world too. It's like, hey, I want to do this in life. Okay, well, if you want to get there, then who do you need to become to be that person? If I want to be a producer, I ain't going to do that in Nebraska. I can tell you that, but I need to get in the right rooms. I mean, you could, I don't know, but it's
Nowadays.
never been a desire. I think sitting on a film would be really neat and just watching it all and soaking it in. But we can't say this is what we want, but not change who we are.
That's exactly right. And I think, and in women's defense, not defense, but where I support them is also just start.
Yes.
It's like, well, Jenna, you were able, like your first year, you were able to like, you made so much money at it and you made a profit and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but you guys, I took you along the way. Like I did a retreat, the first one in March. Yeah, you're going to pay me for it because I know I'm going to deliver something. But if I waited to get it all exactly correct, I
No.
would still not be in business.
Right.
It's just like I had to start. I had to get myself so uncomfortable and learn the way. But the key is, and this is definitely something has super happened in my like mid to late 40s and my 50s, is my self-confidence is so up in my ability to handle and solve any problem.
Yeah.
And that very much comes from my background in producing, right? Because any
Love
possible problem that would come, you have to act really quickly, you have to act really fast. So that natural ability that I have, I know that I could pivot. I know that I could take 12 women and go to this private luxury farm I rented and get them all to finish doing their course, their online course, and film all the videos in 5 days and do the whole thing. I just knew I was just going to get that product. Did we
it.
have bumps along the way? Totally. Did we solve it with like humor and like him? Absolutely. And was everyone completely happy and satisfied then? Yeah. But it's not like I'd done it before.
Right.
I just sort of got started and knew that I would just do it. And yes, I'm a producer, I'm a good planner, I can think ahead, I can like, but it's why I love that quote of a culture as great as its dreams, and his dreams are dreamed by artists, because artists had the ability, and I don't mean just a painter. I don't mean a musician. I don't mean an actor. I mean, if you're organizing, if you're being an entrepreneur, you are an artist because you are thinking out of the box. You are creatively coming up with bright ideas. And
Yes.
so I love that dream because that is how we get a future. You can't have a future unless you use your imagination to create it. And I'll
Right.
give you a simple example. My daughter's birthday is next month. Okay, well, her birthday could just come and go, or what are we going to create for your birthday? What do you want to do? And we start talking about the ideas, and she wants to do unicorns and mermaids, and somehow it's going to be an ice skating party. And we start thinking of all the things. And you know what? In 3 weeks, it's going to be here. And it will be that exact thing that we imagined.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep telling the ladies, like, hey, you want your business to go somewhere? Let's just imagine how it's going to go.
Right.
And
Right.
then you go for it.
Yeah.
And there might be little quirks or things that are off, or, maybe I don't get the right looking unicorn when I do the birthday party, but, there'll be a unicorn on the wall. You know what I mean? Like,
It might be like with a pig with a horn, but
yeah, it
it's
might be
gonna
like,
be a
yeah, right.
unicorn.
Yeah, it's coming from China. I don't know. Maybe it's a little weird unicorn, but, whatever. It's there. So, anyways, that is the thing that I really impress upon people is like, don't think, do, and your future depends on your imagination.
Right. Right.
It's all made up. We make
It
all
is.
of this up.
It is. It is. And so it kind of goes back to, so I'm actually working on a development here in Columbus. We purchased 75 acres and we're going to go like, it's going to be single family homes, hundreds of single family homes, apartment
Wow.
buildings, commercial buildings. And I've never done that,
Yeah.
And I get people like, they're asking me very detailed questions like, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? I'm like, holy moly. Like I see the bigger picture. We will get people in the right place to kind of get it that all
Yeah.
figured out. Like I'm not going to be out there building shit. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
hammering a wall because it's just not going to
That's
look
not you.
good.
Right.
I have the bigger vision. This is the end product,
Right.
but we have to put the right people in the right places. Whereas so many people would be like, oh, 75 acres. Ooh, well, what about this? And what about that? What if this happens? How are you going to do this? Like, no, like I have true faith and belief, which
Yep.
is key to your success, is truly believing and knowing things will come together.
That's right.
You don't always envision all the problems, which you don't want to because it'll stop you.
You'll get them.
Yeah. Oh, you will get them, and probably sometimes worse than what you even think of, but you still figure it out. And
Absolutely.
I mean, we there's a long road ahead of us, but I know it's going to come together and we will figure it
Absolutely.
out. And it was like when I transitioned from my previous brokerage to where I'm at now, my husband, he's very analytical thinking. He thinks about all the problems and he's like, well, Shay, what about this? And this is what they do for you. And if you go over there, then you're not going to have this. And I'm like, holy shit. Like I finally
Yeah.
was like, Adam, I don't want you to tell me all the things that can go wrong. I don't want
That's
that. I want to hear it.
yeah.
I understand it. I realize it. I said, but I see a bigger vision and I see something so much larger than where I'm at now because I
Right.
felt like where I was at there, I did great. I was comfortable. It was
Yeah.
easy, I guess you could say. But it wasn't challenging me and it wasn't
Yes.
going to get me bigger than where I'm at. It wasn't going to get me larger than Columbus. It wasn't going to get me
Right.
larger than Nebraska because
Right.
I don't want to be just an agent. I don't, like I want to do things like this. I want to meet amazing women
Yes.
and
Yeah.
take this to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So I just saw the bigger vision. I don't
Yeah.
know where it's going to necessarily go or what's going to
Yeah.
come up, but I saw something so much more. And change is tough. I don't it's hard. It's
Well,
hard.
and but fine. I mean, the world isn't set up to go, oh, you want to create, here's the red carpet. Your dreams were right for you. No, it's like, unfortunately,
That's
it doesn't work
boring.
that way. And you know
No.
what? It would be like boring. Like
Yeah.
we need these roadblocks because when we have those achievements, it's like you look back down the road and you're like, all right, that was some good stuff, like maybe lost a finger or a couple limbs, but
Yeah.
I'm still here getting through it. I mean, right now, me and my business partner, we're gonna create like this amazing content studio right here in Little Clearwater, Florida, which is outside of Tampa. But it's gonna be this amazing studio like Good Morning America, where people can watch people do their live podcasts and any influencers can come. And we want to create a really good communication channel that gets out to the world. And it's going to be a studio where you can see people creating content, social media content, doing their podcast, whatever it is. It's like an all glass, but we want to bring attention to this cute little amazing town we have, but we also want to send out really good, sane messages, and some people are like, well, the city's permitting right now after the hurricanes. Are like, are you kidding me right now? Like, you think I really care about a permit?
Yeah.
Like, fine, all in due time. You know
Right.
what I mean? But
Yeah.
we have like the amazing building, this one building that's been empty for years. That's like perfect. It's just, it all lines up, but it is now I'm excited about something.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's
It is
just
exciting. That's amazing. And doing something completely new and different and off the wall that you get people who doubt you. It's like, great. I love it. Doubt
doubt,
me
you're a
more.
dad away.
Doubt
Yes.
me more. I want that.
Totally. And that's the thing that I really, it sounds like you do it as well, Shay. And I really impress upon my ladies is like, because as women, we have a tendency like, good, let me get the BP. How do I check it off? What are my different color marks and how am I going to get it done? Right? I need to get a product. And it's like, okay, hold on. Let's be up here in that 30, 60,000 foot view for a bit and hang out there for a while until you get that full picture.
Yeah.
It's like on my last retreat as the last day's project, it was really beautiful. We're like on the top, the roof had like a roof deck with glass walls, right? And I bought them all 2025 calendars. So they taped it up on the wall. So it was just a big calendar. And I was like, here's your post-it notes. Pick one for vacations, one for milestones, one for all the balances of life that you want. And you're just going to lay it on the calendar. You know what I mean? But they would like, well, and they would start to come down like, I need to make my little, I said, stop it. You got to stay up there. And they did. And the biggest takeaway was, I can't believe how fast a year goes by. And I don't know what I'm waiting for. Like, get started now. And I surveyed them all yesterday after coming home. They're like, I've already gotten like 10 things done because I could see like, I really looked at the year and the trajectory of what was happening. And they were staying very high level instead of coming down and getting very busy with just one little problem. Does that make sense? And I
Yeah.
thought that it was very cool. Again, had I done that before? No, I just did my calendar in November. I was like, this is great. Let's do a retreat doing calendars.
Yeah. But sometimes, I mean, people need that guidance. People need that like alone time. Because if you said, hey, go do this, but I'm busy with life and work and kids and everything, I'm not going to do it as efficiently,
That's right.
We
That's
did
right.
one, we actually did you can't see it, but it's back on my wall. We did a calendar last Tuesday with our Real Moms community here
Yeah.
locally. And it was more than just the vision board. It
Yeah.
was had us like sit back and envision and feel and had more than just this is what I want. No, like I want to know how does
Really
that
look
make
at it.
you
Yep.
feel? Yeah. So now when I look at my vision board, I'm like, okay, that is pretty. I'm on the beach and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you really envision it and you just get more involved with that. But that was 2.5 hours of no distractions and we were focusing on it. And I'm reading a book, it's called Deep Work, where so many of us do things just on skimming on the surface that we don't really dive deep or we get caught up in the little minutia of life and
Busy.
things.
Yeah.
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 And that was truthfully the reason why I even thought of doing retreats, besides the fact that I love to travel and I love to like, a great girls' weekend is awesome. But the truth of the matter is like, if I could just have 5 days away without the dogs and the kids and the grocery shopping and all this and just focus on this one element of my business, that would be amazing. That's literally how it started. And so I used to call them take fives. Like that's what I started the promotion, like just take 5 days, just take 5 days. And what we are getting done, this is now the third retreat. What people, I mean, one of the women said, what I got done in literally those 3 days was more than I would have had time set. She's a mom of 5 kids and, she's a realtor. And she's like, yeah, oh, all the things. And she was like, oh my God, just the time and the space. And then to go out in the evenings and go have a nice meal and go on a beach walk. We didn't drink alcohol. We didn't eat a ton of sugar. It wasn't about that. It was about like staying focused. We did, we had the yoga instructor come, which was awesome. And it just was a nice workcation.
I love workations. They're like my favorite. They are because you still stay focused on your overall health and you're still working out, and you're still eating healthy. You're really getting your mind into it. Whereas if you just go on a vacation like a girl's trip and and all that goes out the window. All of it goes out the window,
Totally.
which we need once in a blue moon. But I
Absolutely.
really
But
love those workations, and I like how you said people, time goes so fast. A year goes so fast. People underestimate what they can do in 5 years, but overestimate what they can do in a year. Did I say that right? Or no, they overestimate what they can do in 5 years, but underestimate
underestimate.
what they can do in
Yeah.
a year because I think, yeah, people don't actually, they're not intentional. They don't have that vision. They don't
They just
have
don't
like,
start. They don't
yeah,
start, Shay. You just
no,
don't start. That's the
no,
problem.
no.
And I run into it too. I mean, I came back from the retreat, like I end my retreats on Saturday so that everyone has Sunday to kind of regroup with their family and whatever, and not just run into a Monday, right? So I usually do a Wednesday through Saturday. But yeah, I mean, I got back and I was just like a little like, whew, but I really need to work on the next project. And I didn't really give myself that Sunday to just I kind of started to and yesterday I got no production done, to be quite honest with you. I was just like, what is happening? And then I was like, okay, you know what? That's it. I'm just gonna hang with my daughter. The day's already lost. We did a painting by numbers. We just created, and I was like, okay, I got that podcast at 10 a.m. and that's gonna really launch me in the next thing, but that's also the reality of it too. Like people think like, it's always on. Well, sometimes it's not, and you have to figure out how to bypass that,
Right.
and just get into action or just great. I'm going to go do something artistic with my daughter for a little bit and just kind of unplug and stop beating myself up that I didn't hit whatever
Yeah.
unbelievable target I set for myself to hit that day,
Yeah,
you know?
no, that's exactly right. And I think, especially women, we need to be okay with not being overproductive. When you had all these big plans, some days we just need that refresh and that restart, or that reset is really what we need. You need to have, that saying, work hard, play hard. You don't need to play hard, but you do need a reset. You do
Yeah.
need that time to step away from everything in life and spend it intentionally with your daughter, or with your
Yeah.
family, or whatever it is. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
and especially, juggling menopause is interesting too, and hormones do play a part. And I'm definitely like a go, 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 go person. And I'm like, okay, my mom was go, 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 go. And she died of cancer, like at 69. And I was just like, I'm trying to be a little more like, cool. She never did take those pause moments ever. And I can see that habit coming in. So I'm being like, we're doing a family trip to Montana. So on my calendar, I put my milestones. If I can hit this thing, then I'm going to be able to go do here. And I love that. That like sort of, I'm like a sprinter, like let me sprint really hard to this moment and then go have great family time. Let me sprint really hard and go do something I've always wanted to do. And that I find has been super helpful to even hit goals and targets.
Oh, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever had it where you didn't hit the goal, so you didn't do what you wanted to do?
Um, yes, I would say I go more into the opposite direction where I don't acknowledge the win. Like I'll hit the goal and be like, "Ugh, it's early. I should have set it higher." And then I'll just kind of keep going. Like, so I've had to sort of remember to take pause and go, well done. Next, where I'll just kind of brush over it. And my husband's like, time out. Hold the horses here for a second, Missy. Like, do you see what you just did? And I
Right.
was like, what? Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And then, he's like, okay. So it's more, it's more of like let's acknowledge the good, that would just be a much better thing.
Celebrate all wins is something that I try to remind myself. And we always want to be happy but never satisfied. And I know that probably sounds rude or bad for some people, but like you need to be happy with where you're at. You need to celebrate those wins. But there's always that drive, like I need more. And it for some people it sounds selfish, but unless you have that like
Yeah.
tuition, like it's I love it. I love where I'm at in life, but I know I could do so much more. And it's just always striving for that next best
Yeah.
thing, whatever it is. And it's not always money. It is not the money side of it.
No,
That
no.
will
Right
come
now,
through doing what you love.
Yes. And right now I'm really trying to build an organization because even when I had my production company, I never really built an organization. It was successful in doing whatever, but I didn't invest back into it. And what I'm really trying to build is a place for other
Mhm.
people to have a great work life. I want people to invest in the company. Like that's really, and it's hard to do, that it's I'm going through that like, oop, that wasn't the right person. Okay, let's get, but I do feel, I'm going to be 53. Like I definitely don't want to be going at this speed for much longer. I gave myself to 55 to build like a really strong network. So then there's other things that I can do and
Yeah.
create, not be in a hustle, but be in a hustle on another level with like a
Yes.
nice team. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Well, Jenna, I truly appreciate you being here. So tell me, what is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self, or maybe somebody who's looking to kind of get into the entrepreneurship realm? What is one piece of advice you would give them?
Listen to your gut. There is always that little spidey sense or a thought that might come in with either partnering with someone or an idea you had. And for whatever reason, we seem to spend more time talking ourselves out of it. And I think to trust that, and again, that goes back to my motto of like, don't think, do. That's what I would have told my younger self. There was definitely opportunities that I missed that if I had just gotten into action and didn't think so much about them, I would have been probably in a different situation. Or boyfriends I had that I probably shouldn't have had and knew better, or, friends that I had. And sure, they're learning moments for sure. But there was always that moment before when I would go, I don't think this is a good idea. Yet I would still do it. So that would be my advice to my younger self. Let's just trust that spidey sense a little bit. Trust yourself more is truly what that is.
We really do have our that intuition
Yeah.
of life, especially women. I really feel like we just have that intuition, good or bad,
Yep.
and we do need to go with it, and
Yeah.
people don't get lucky. It's those who are seeking the opportunity and things kind of fall into place, and
Yeah.
I can talk about this whole development that people are like, oh, Shay just got lucky. No, 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 no. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So looking backwards, I'm like, well, I did this, that led to this, that led to this, that got this. And I'm like, you just but I'm always looking for opportunity. And two of the things that I encourage people to consider and think about every single day is opportunity and abundance. We don't need
Mhm.
that scarcity mindset. Just look around you. I'm in Columbus, Nebraska, 25,000 people, but there's millions of dollars that sit around me every single day, but
Yeah.
people are looking at the opposite. They're looking at the scarcity mindset. No, look for opportunity, look at the abundance of life and everything that it has to offer, and really be grateful for it and appreciate it. And more will come,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think people just live in a scarcity mindset, especially where we're at in life, that they let opportunities pass them by.
Absolutely. And that's the difference. You took action. We just
Absolutely.
took action. And I'm
Mhm.
sure some of them were great and some of them weren't so great, but you still took it. Yeah,
It took a lot of
probably.
action that did probably wasn't the best looking back. My husband and I were actually just talking about that yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I learned, it's called tuition. Some things have costed me a lot more money, but I always take a little bit of something out of it, So
Yeah. And just
always
make
something that comes from it.
Yeah, you just make more money. Like I don't know what to say. It's energy. It's moving around. It's like, and I'll tell this. Just I'll tell some of my ladies like they worry about money, and I'm like, the only reason why you're worrying about money is you're lacking the self confidence you can make more. Like just go make more. And they
Yeah.
look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, no, it's actually just that simple though.
Yeah.
Like you just come up with another bright idea to just go make more money. Like you're saying, the opportunities. It's really, really that's great. It gives you like space to just create. You
Yeah,
know.
and I believe in manifestation and law of attraction that if you're putting that negative energy out there, well, no, nothing's going to be attracted to you. I mean, I kind of chewed my husband out the other day because he called me and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go." He's an agent too. He does land sales, and he's like, "Yeah, we're not going to get this deal together." And I'm like, What are you
Yeah.
fucking talking about?" And like, "Oh, we're not going to get this deal together. The buyer wants this, seller wants that." He's like, "I'm going to go. It's going to be a waste of time for me to go there." And I literally, when he got back, he's like, "Yeah, we didn't get together." I'm like, "Well, no shit, you didn't." I said, because you're
Right.
going there with a negative vibration. I said, I know you probably don't believe it in as much as I do, but you went there with the expectation of not being able to put it together. Now, I'm not saying if you went there with a positive, more energetic feel that it would have been put together, but you probably could have came up with a solution. Like there would have been something else that came out of it. If you go there and like, nope, we're going to get this together. How can we make this a win-win for everybody? You're just vibrating on a completely different level. But when you go there with the expectation that you're not going to, you go in, maybe slump shoulders, your head's down a little bit more. And the seller is feeding off of that. So then he threw in there, oh, that's, I want this purchase price and now I want this. Well, you weren't even going to come together on the first offer to begin with. But anyway, I kind of like chewed him out.
But
I'm like,
it's that intentional. Like
yeah,
what is it's I'll tell people a lot like, should I do this? Should I do that? I'm like, what's the product you want on the other side?
right.
What's the product you want on the other side? If the product you want is that, then your intention's got to be. Otherwise, again, we're back to the thinking thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just sort of like, what is the product I want? Good. Go after that product. And whatever barriers you have to overcome, you'll overcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really and anyways, that's great. I think that is just such a key to success for sure and I think some people go into stuff not really knowing what product they want,
No, they go
Yeah.
into it blind. Like you need to know. And that's like even when I'm showing buyers homes, like I'm going into it like, nope, we're making an offer today. And like I have that mindset. Does it always work out? No. But if I go in there like, I'm just here to show somebody and I'm just a warm body, nah, not gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
No. If I'm going in there like tonight, I'm showing 3 homes. I'm like, no, we're gonna be making an offer on a property.
That's right. That's
And
right.
I don't know if it'll happen. I feel like it will, but you have to
It
go
will.
into something with intention
Yeah.
and an outcome of what you're wanting.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yes.
That's
All right. Well, Jenna, how can if somebody's interested in your retreats or get involved with whatever you're doing, how can they find you or get a hold of you?
Well, my website is jennacapozzi.com, but some people I feel like will misspell Capozzi. So I created something called Lead with Jenna.
There you go. I was gonna say, I thought it was Lead with Jenna, but okay. Okay.
Yeah, that does need to be updated. All the material is great, and people can book a call with me if they want, or with one of my ladies, just to if they want to just chat about their business. But it will also take them to the website, and the website is where I have the retreats. So we have our next retreats and events coming up. I'm announcing them next week, so they can always check it out.
Awesome. Yep. We'll be sure to put those down into the notes, your website. So, well, I appreciate it, Jenna, for being here. And again, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All righty.
And that wraps up another inspiring episode of the Real Moms Podcast. A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their story and insights today. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And hey, sharing is caring, right? Share this podcast with your fellow mompreneurs, friends, and anyone who you feel could use a dose of inspiration. Share it on your social media as well. But most importantly, if you found this episode helpful, please, please, please leave me a 5-star review. This helps get our information out to those who have never heard or seen us before. Are you feeling inspired and you're sure that you could add some value to the podcast? Shoot me a message and let's talk. We love hearing from you. So connect with us on social media. Tag me at Shay J Spitz. That's ShaeJSpitz. And share your thoughts and takeaways, or even suggest topics you'd like to have us explore more in the future episodes. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Your resilience is your strength, and your pursuit of abundant living is truly remarkable. As always, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep embracing the beautiful chaos of being a mompreneur. Until next time, take care, stay real, and keep living abundantly.